When we are doing the will of our true self, we are inevitably doing the will of the universe. In magic, these are seen as indistinguishable. That every human soul is in fact one human soul. It is the soul of the universe itself. And as long as you are doing the will of the universe, then it is impossible to do anything wrong.
There is this connection between everybody and his total environment.
Every human soul is in fact one human soul. It is the soul of the universe itself.
That scientists tell us that there's no meaning at all in everything we see out there. That's external reality which can have no relation to human consciousness.
My name is Revel Rosz, and this is Pragmagick. In this podcast, we will journey through the investigation and application of metaphysical means to enhance and inspire what I consider to be the great unifying purpose of our short human existence, the creative process. And it's my intention to learn and reveal exercises that hex those inner oppressive thought patterns, as well as exorcising those lurking psychic vampires. So join me as I consort the unseen as means for getting the fuck out of creative stagnation. Stagnation that bewitches each and all of us, artists or not.
The person who throws a curse is a hysteric and the victim is a paranoid.
The following episode is a repost of my conversation with Montana Jordan, a paranormal scholar and local Oregon intuitive. This recording was made live at the Waypost in Portland, Oregon, right before Halloween 2017. And it was just such an amazing conversation. I wanted to catalog and release each of the conversations in that initial salon and event, and make sure they got the widest audience possible. That's widest, WIDEST. And for a little shameless self-promotion, I'm including the first track entitled Night Thief off of Dakota Slim's upcoming release, Cactus Crown. Should be released May 25th, and you can find it through dakotaslim.net or wethehallowed.org. But without further ado, please enjoy this epic conversation back when the veil was the thinnest and the leaves were orange and Santa Muerte was breathing down all of our necks. This is my conversation with Montana Jordan. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This is an amazing manifestation. I think I heard you on Cult Personality Podcast.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Searched you out. We went, saw your Ouija.
My Ouija.
I guess workshop lecture.
Yeah. My Ouija lecture, my most recent lecture at Make Minimum's Mission Theater.
And are you doing more of those?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have a lecture scheduled for the rest of this year, but yeah.
But you have a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's get right into it. I been asking this to everybody, and I kind of know your answer because you're very upfront about this. Mm-hmm. But what was the spark that made you realize there was something beyond this corporal reality?
That's a good question. I am very open about my initial first aha moment that I had because, like I discussed at my lecture, if you remember, I think it's really important that we open up and maintain a very honest, a brutally honest dialogue about our events because there's nothing abnormal about the paranormal. We all have experiences, and I think the more we talk about them, then the more we grow comfortable with them, and then the more we can develop a healthier understanding. So for me, my first experience, I was about 6 years old, and I was harassed by a dark entity. And when I say that it was dark, it was black in color, and I was brought up in a religious household. So as a 6-year-old little sheltered girl, I communicated my experience as something bad and something evil.
So it was negative because of what you were kind of conditioned to understand.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So for years, I was very scared of it, and for years I continued to see it. And I started to read books, started to ask questions, and the more I expanded myself and my capability, the more I was able to see. Mm-hmm. So other beings started to present themselves to me, and I was able to start presenting myself to them. And I now know, all my years working as an active paranormal researcher in the field as well as a practicing occultist, I now know that my experience was far from negative. I communicated it as something negative at the time, again, because I was a little girl and I didn't know any better. So that's why I talk about my experience very openly, even though I was a naive child at the time. It's so important that we understand that just because something seems scary, just because something is dark or black in color, it doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that it's evil.
That's great. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to dive into. You mentioned seeing at what age did you?
I think I was about 6.
So at 6 years old, and then they become clearer over time. And I've read that it's a psychic muscle that you, like anyone has the capacity, maybe. I'm not sure of.
I definitely think so.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah, I think that we all have parapsychological capabilities inside of us. Some of us are just more sensitive to it.
Okay, great. Yeah, like empathic or.
Absolutely.
And so, what was it that? When did they start becoming clearer that you could actually kind of ascribe? Because when we saw your Ouija workshop at McMiniman's, right away you were kind of taken back by noticing
all the energies in the room.
Energies. So is that's probably the best word to call it. And you were very upfront about it, you know. And I was wondering, when did they start becoming really clear? When could you understand that they were, Good
question. I can't tell you exactly when. It's just something that sort of started to develop more and more over the years. And I can tell you that it's only been probably fairly recently that I feel I've really been able to control it. It's something that's always been there, but I have figured out how to turn it on and how to turn it off and how to manipulate it.
So when it started, it just came.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, of course, your resolution started getting better.
Definitely, yeah.
And
well, I think that was the whole point of it. I talk to people, so many people that say that they have these experiences or they had these experiences when they were younger and they dismissed them, or their parents told them, it was just a dream. It was just, just a monster under your bed, not a big deal.
Right.
I think that is a huge hindrance. I think that that's unhealthy. I think it's important that we teach our children to be more open, and that, again, we have an open dialogue about these situations because we all have them. So my point is that if you are dismissive of yourself, if you just say, it was just a dream, or I just saw something out of the corner of my eye, then you're training yourself, you're training your brain to quiet down that capability that you have, and that's not why you have it. You have it because it's something great and you're supposed to grow with it.
Totally. Yeah, I think my dismission came as I grew up and started trusting my younger, empathic self a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
I was a kid, maybe I didn't understand what was happening, but I have to fight that.
Yeah, definitely.
What I wanted to really get into, because this is a big one, how is that, when I think of energies or spirits, I think of them almost as echoes or fractions of a consciousness that existed before. Do you think that is the entire entity? Do you think that that's the complete consciousness?
That is a really good question. That's actually a difficult question to answer because I would say professionally, we have no idea.
Right.
No idea. And everything's going to be speculative. And that's why we continue to work in the field, and we continue to gather and garner and go through our research to answer those questions.
So you're coming at it purely scientifically.
From a scientific perspective, yeah, that would be impossible to answer. From a personal perspective.
So I'm asking personally. Yeah,
yes.
So.
Personally, I think that every energy and every circumstance behind that energy, I think it's all going to be circumstantial. So that means it's going to be ever-changing. And that's the thing with, as what I'm going to be talking about this weekend at my event.
Right.
Anything paranormally related, anything paranormally active, parapsychology, spirituality as a whole, whether you're a pagan, whether you're what have you, spirituality and theology and philosophy and any academic or practicing study related to that, it is an ever-changing spiritual journey. It's always going to be changing. It's always going to be morphing. So everything is circumstantial.
So how has that formed your kind of understanding of what the afterlife is? Like, how has that shaped, the idea of a beyond?
I think the more I study, the more investigations that I go on, and the more resources that I have available to me, and the more that I learn. We are in a very exciting time right now, philosophically and spiritually. We are understanding as paranormal researchers that things aren't just necessarily paranormal anymore, that they're more parapsychological. And that really, really opens things up in terms of a researcher's point of view.
Right.
So parapsychology is basically the study of, it's more metaphysical than not. So it's basically the study of yourself and your relationship with your environment, and the fundamentals that orthodox science can't explain. So you've got telepathy, ESP, any of those things.
Sure.
So what I'm getting at is that when I started in this field, I thought that things were more cut and dry. I'm like, yep, I've seen ghosts, I've seen these entities, I've seen these beings, there has to be an afterlife.
That was a dead person. Well,
exactly, yeah, like put them in categories. This is who you are, this is what I think.
Instead it could be projections.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now I understand that it's not just paranormal. It's not just, oh, you're a ghost, or oh, you're a demon, or oh, you're an angel. And I'm not a big fan of any of those words anyways, but totally. I think that things are more parapsychological. I think that I have more to do with them than I realized. You have more to do with them than you realize, that it's all telepathic and we're all connected, that there's a greater consciousness, and that's what parapsychology is getting to be more centered around.
I wanted to ask you, please, that was amazing. Or not. I wanted to ask you about the idea of a collective unconscious. Do you think these are like, I know that Wiccan, right? Practicing Wiccan?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm not Wiccan.
No. Not Wiccan.
I just say that I'm a pagan.
Pagan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's
no
terrible.
No, that's okay.
Distinction.
Yeah.
But,
so just to be clear, Wicca is an institutionalized religion,
right.
And paganism is basically anti-institution.
Right.
So somebody can say that they're a pagan and a Wiccan, but I'm not a Wiccan.
Right. Yeah. So I apologize because I know the distinction. Your belief in a multi-deity kind of existence, like how does that play into parapsychology?
That is a good question. Lots of good questions. I haven't talked about this publicly yet, so this might be a good time to do it.
Okay. I hope so.
I'm going to out myself right now.
You can also plead the fifth. That's fine.
I actually had very recently a very personal, profound, this amazing experience. I was meditating, and I believe that I was astral projecting. And I think that, again, we all we all possess parapsychological capabilities, and some of us just have to work harder at them than others.
So there was an emphasis on belief.
Yes, okay. Yeah. So I was meditating, I was sitting down, I was astral projecting. It was one of the most, am I allowed to cuss?
Absolutely.
I was going to say all the shit. Nice. And say all of the shit that I've seen and all of the shit that's happened to me, that so many ghosts and so many things that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. And I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
I was astral projecting, and it was the most amazingly indescribable. And I'm a writer. Like, I can't even find the words to describe what it was like. But I was astral projecting, and I was flying, and all of these different kingdoms and universes were flying past me, and I felt so warm and whole. And I was talking to this old lady version of myself, and I knew her to be me.
Wow.
And she was Asian, and she was little, and she had long hair. And I was like, hey, what's up? And she's like, hey, girl. And we were just talking, and she was showing me a bunch of things, like a slideshow of all of my past lives. And there was no question about it. I knew they were my past lives. So what's interesting about that is I got interrupted. I got intercepted. And so I'm astral projecting, and I'm talking to this old lady version of myself. And then to my right, there's this bubble that forms, and two actual, what I interpret them to be, two actual ETs show up.
Right.
And they're in this little bubble, and they're looking down at me, and they're like physically above me, because I remember they had to look down at me to talk to me. And they were like, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. Get out, get out, get out.
Too soon.
Yeah. Get out, get out, get out. And as a paranormal researcher, you know, I have to be open to all of these experiences, and I've never had, as far as I know, an ET experience before. I think I've seen a few UAPs before,
but explain what a UAP is.
That would be an unidentified aerial phenomenon. So that's a new term for UFOs.
I like it.
Yeah,
that's a lot better.
So my whole long story is going back to your initial question, is that, again, things aren't so cut and dry anymore. Right. We can't label things anymore, and things aren't necessarily paranormal. Things are more parapsychological, and ufology, and the study of possible, ET life that falls under parapsychology. So since I had that experience, and since I've been starting to understand that spiritually and theologically and philosophically, that things are more parapsychological than not, that has definitely shaped my view of the afterlife, because I now know, I thought that I knew more answers when I got into this field, and now, even through all the shit that I've seen and everything I've experienced, I'm like, I don't fucking know.
Right, yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's what I've talked to Anthony about this before. It's like the, Manly P. Hall talks about it. Like, you're about to be a student of the occult, like, you're going to get decimated.
Yep.
Time after time.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
you hold tight, because it's not going to be fun.
Definitely.
This here Pragmagick podcast is brought to you by Portland, Oregon's open source Art-Religion and Pragmagick Art Collective, We the Hallowed. For more information, please visit wethehallowed.org or support these fine, pious individuals at patreon.com/We the Hallowed. Remember, that's hallowed like saintly. HALLOWED. Thank you, and haunt on.
wanted to really touch on what you were talking about earlier about, you know, this consciousness that you found, the kind of train of your singularity, I guess I would call it, kind of the different lives you've lived. So was that the first time you kind of understood about a shared lineage of consciousness?
No, not at all. Not for me. Yeah.
So that is a thing, right?
Yeah. Oh,
right?
absolutely. I think so. Yeah. I'm a firm believer in reincarnation. Yeah. Ghosts exist, reincarnation exists, ETs exist. I think everything exists, and what I haven't experienced yet, I still have to be open to. And I talked about this at my last lecture that I haven't seen Bigfoot, but who am I to tell somebody that no, you didn't have a Bigfoot encounter? You know, again, spirituality is an individual journey, and I do believe that different entities and different beings and different energies are shapeshifters, and that they will present themselves in a different manner honor to you as opposed to me. And it might not necessarily be that they have the power to do that. Again, from a parapsychological point of view, that might be how you're choosing to interpret it on a different level, and so forth.
I was going to say, because I've had experiences, especially within audiomancy, where I think the other place is allowing me to mine how I would realize things.
Exactly.
That it's not exactly as they are, but the only way to not shoot off into the atmosphere of the neither or whatever is to kind of digest it.
Yeah.
So is it gifts, or is this are we thrusting ourselves out there?
I think it's all good, and I'm going to answer this from a pagan perspective. As a pagan, we honor the duality in nature. We honor death and life, and definitely. Yeah. So we know that things have to be loving and cruel. Life and death, dark and light, and day and night. It's just the way the animal kingdom runs, and that I think it's important to honor that, and to go back to circle back to what we were talking about with the dark entity that harassed me at the age of 6 years old. And I say this at every opportunity I can. I think it's so important to remember that the darkness is something to be honored and not feared. That we are taught to look through things through a religious specified lens, and I cannot enforce how incorrect that is, because we're talking about theology and spirituality as a whole, and religion is just a little tiny portion of that. So it's important that we absolutely. So that's why. Thank you.
Broken hand clap.
Yeah, yay. So yes, it's important that we explore all resources to thrust ourselves into whatever this major consciousness is.
I think that's what fascinates me so much about you, is that we also have the kind of same predilection for outlaw country music. And I
Johnny
think
Cash.
Yeah, exactly.
Johnny
and I think Johnny Cash, the thing that haunts me the most about him, other than astrologically, because we're very similar, is the relishing in contradiction.
Yes, because he was a Christian.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I could talk about Johnny Cash for days.
Right.
Absolutely. That's the thing of it. Johnny Cash is actually one of my favorite writers. A lot of people don't know that he was not just a poet, but also a novelist.
By Johnny Cash.
Oh my goodness, so amazing. So that's the thing of it. It's not a surprise that I'm very anti-religion, and I'm specifically anti-Christian. But I'm also working on my PhD in holistic theology. So as an inspiring theologian, again, and as a paranormal researcher, it's my job to always be open. It's my job to maintain an openness. So with Johnny Cash, he is so fascinating because he was a born-again Christian, and he was best friends with Billy Graham, who was very interesting. But Johnny Cash, he was the type of religious person who was so accepting, and he was so dark that he was somebody that struggled with his own darkness, hence being the man in black.
Right.
And basically, his Christian religion rejected him, and he actually tried to join the Freemasonry one day, and they kicked him out. They were like, "No, you're a bad boy. You're a rebel. You've got a bad reputation, and we can't have you be a part of that."
I think that's what he relished in. He understood the constraints of it, but he was like, "This is the only one that won't have me, so I'm going to do it."
I like that.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah, so smart.
Let's talk about. Let's talk about Ouija real quick, and then we'll get into your many events and things that we're doing. So we saw your Ouija thing I keep talking about. You do a McMiniman's lecture series. It's about the occult, the esoteric, metaphysical. It's all over the place. Different speakers. And we witnessed one where you kind of demystified the Ouija, but also brought it back to the mystical at the same time.
Cool. Thank you.
The big thing was it's not a haunted thing of the devil, and I think I fell into that when I was younger. And that was I think part of that Johnny Cash understanding was like, ugh,
Yeah.
But I love that you went over the idiometer effect, and so the confluence between you as a scientist and you as a spiritual person, I thought was the best person to listen to about the Ouija. So if you don't mind, kind of help these people realize that it's an actual tool.
Absolutely. Thank you. I don't consider myself a scientist. I always look at things through a scientific perspective.
Right.
But thank you for that.
That's mine. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
The Ouija board in itself is not good nor evil. The goodness or the evilness lies within the intention of the user. So if I am a bad person and I want to do something bad with the Ouija board, then my intention is going to manifest that because I'm in control of it. I'm the one that's manipulating it physically as well as psychically. And we have with a few of my affiliated paranormal and parapsychological research organizations, over several years I've been a part of a lot of very well-documented like very tight scientifically ran Ouija board sessions where we were experimenting with, okay, how does it work? How is it manipulated? Who manipulates it? Do I manipulate it? Do you manipulate it? Does somebody outside of the room manipulate it? And again, talking about the odometer effect.
Right, that's the simplistic, just kind of
absolutely,
throwaway
yeah. And that's what I think. It's like, that's the thing of it. Scientifically, scientists want to look at something and be like, no, this is what it is.
Right,
I
yeah.
just explained it. So now you're silly, and this is
become
just a
real
silly
to them,
tool.
therefore it is real.
Exactly, yeah.
Explain what the odometer effect is.
Yeah, the odometer effect is basically another, I think, and it's plausible. I mean, we see it sometimes, but it doesn't always apply. It's a scientific theory, topically, that you control the board, that you are
subconsciously.
Exactly, yeah. And of course, we know that you are, and that's why we use it as a parapsychological tool, like what we were talking about. But that doesn't apply every single time. So the Ouija board itself, with the classes that I teach and the lectures that I give behind the board, it's an occult tool, and you can use it for one of two things, typically. The first one is a paranormal communication device where you are using it basically as a tool to talk to somebody outside of you, so an outside stimulus. So again, it's going to be like an EVP recorder, a telephone, any of those things.
Spirit box.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other one is you can use it as a parapsychological tool to have a conversation with yourself. And that's what we were talking about, talking to yourself or with yourself on another level. So people ask me all the time, they're like, wow, you play with the board by yourself. That's so bad. Don't you know that's how you let the devil in? You're supposed to play it with other people.
Well, it's because you believe it that you let it in, right?
Yeah, if that's what you believe,
I mean, I guess the odometer effect, too, is like an oversimplification of a parapsychological thing.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that communion with the subconscious self is paranormal.
Oh,
right?
definitely.
And
absolutely.
so you are answering things that you need to be answered, right?
Definitely, yeah.
That's amazing, yeah.
That way you go into it with the intention of, let's say there's a ghost sitting right there and I want to talk to them and I'm asking them to move the planchette to answer a question for me. That's using the board as a paranormal tool, but using it as a parapsychological tool. Let's say that I'm really struggling with something personal in my life and I just can't make a decision, so I'm going to sit down and I'm going to try to tap into myself in a different manner. And that's exactly what we do when we dream, and that's why I think that dream work requires more serious study. The dreams that we have are so relevant, and it's another more specified yet free yet wild version of ourselves that are running rampant while our bodies are physically resting. And I think that the encounters that we do have while we're sleeping mean more than they don't. And I think that using occult tools like a Ouija board and pendulums and what have you help you tap into that.
I think I've been realizing that Carl Jung is the most prominent mystic of our time, even though he's situated as a psychological person. I think it's a lot of that. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to, let's talk about Port Gamble. Let's talk about this weekend. It's a big weekend for you.
Yes, thank you for asking. So this weekend is the annual Port Gamble Ghost Conference. It's the big Washington State Ghost Conference. So we have, I try to attend at least two every year, the Oregon State one and then the Washington State one. So this year is this weekend is the Washington State one. It's in Port Gamble. It's near Tacoma, this little gorgeous peninsula town. And I usually teach a class and give a lecture. this year, I decided to have more fun, and I'm teaching 2 classes, and I'm sitting on a couple different panels. I'm really excited about one of the panels. The first panel is the psychic question and answer panel that I'm always on. And then the other one is a brand new one about women in the paranormal field.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
It's a topic that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, thank you. So I'm really excited about that, and I've been getting a lot of emails, heated emails from people about certain questions and what we're not supposed to be discussing, and
like you're would be giving too much away. They need to earn it, kind of thing, or is this like the machismo patriarchal bullshit?
Well, they asked me to be a part of the panel, and they know me well, so they should know better. I'm very honest, so if I'm gonna be very straight about being a woman working in a patriarchic society,
as you should be.
Oh my goodness, yeah. It's hard enough being a human, let alone a woman, let alone working in the scientific field.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be a fun talk. And then so my I'll let you know how it goes. I always teach a class, a hands-on intensive Ouija board class. I call it the misconceptions and application of the Ouija board. So I go through the misconceptions found in media and mainstream culture and talk about what the Ouija board is, and more importantly, what it is not. So my goal is that the patrons walk away from my lecture or from my class with a better understanding of what occultism is. Occultism is a study of anything mystical, magical, or supernatural. Occultism is basically the bridge between philosophy and science. So looking at anything from a metaphysic perspective, because we know that anything paranormal or anything parapsychological, science itself, orthodox science, can't answer the questions that we're trying to answer. So science is limited. Science is not all that it's up to be. It's not up to par anymore. So
Absolutely.
That's why we're looking at things from a more philosophical perspective.
And it's more about opening investigations, not closing them.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's why for the first several years that I was actually working as a professional researcher, I felt at the time, and this was wrong, I felt at the time that I had to keep all of the metaphysical stuff under wraps because I didn't want to be discredited.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, fuck that.
Fuck it.
Yeah. So now, I approach every investigation with my scientific technical equipment as well as the metaphysical equipment, because both garner, results. Both are important. So I'll be teaching my hands-on class on the Ouija board, and I always end it with a live demonstration, and then the last few minutes I have my patrons do actual board work. So I teach them about the history of the board, why the board is important, and then give them an opportunity to do what they want with it, either paranormally or parapsychologically. And then the other class I'm teaching this weekend, I'm really, really excited about it. This is the first time Port Gamble has ever offered a class on this topic. I am going to be teaching a class on the history of witchcraft.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Because you discovered that you're actually lineage of one of the original Salem.
Yes,
witches.
I'm actually a 2-time direct descendant.
Wow.
So I have
2-time. What does that mean? There was a couple.
Yep, 2
Wow.
times. Yep, I have 2 direct grandmothers.
It's always grandmothers, isn't it? It is. Isn't it? I mean, I remember you talking about it before. You actually had a more direct grandmother, but
yeah.
It's the matriarchy. It's the transcendent force that binds everything. It's
absolutely,
it's
especially in paganism and within the craft. Yeah. It's a big deal. Yeah,
that's amazing. So you're going to go through just the history of.
Yep. I'm going to talk
American
about Well, the early witch hunt started in early Europe, so we'll be I'll be talking about that, and then I will be concluding with the Salem witchcraft trials, and then talking about my grandmothers, Susanna and Rebecca. And I'm going to be talking about, again, what witchcraft is and what it is not, and how the media and mainstream culture portrays it as something negative and something demonic and something satanic, which couldn't be farther from the truth. So I'm going to be looking at it from a paranormal researcher's point of view. This is what it is and this is what it's not. And then from an occultist point of view, and from a pagan's point of view, and from a direct descendant of, 2 tried and murdered, essentially, witches from the Salem witchcraft trials, talking about how how and why that was so politically and socially devastating. That during the Salem witchcraft trials, they lasted between 1692 and 1693 in Salem, Massachusetts. 20 people were brutally murdered, and 2 of them were my grandmothers. And one of them was hanged, and the other one actually died in prison while she was waiting for her execution. So
what year was that? I mean, what
was that?
What era again was that?
This was in 1692.
Jesus, it's amazing. Is it like an Ancestry.com thing? How are you discovering it?
Kinda, yeah. I have done all that, absolutely,
awesome.
Because genealogy is fascinating. It's just another facet behind who you are.
I've got a lot of criminal activity in mine, so I kind of stay away. I feel like I'm going to be on the radar.
Yeah, they have all of your DNA, yeah. But that's another reason why I was so excited, genealogically speaking, why I was so excited to teach my class on witchcraft. Because this year, 2017, actually marks the 325th anniversary of the Salem witchcraft trials. And I think it's something that people need to be more aware of and talk about.
That's amazing. Thank you. I have to... Where's my Andy Richter to go, hey? I don't think Andy Richter does that. But real quick, I just want to ask for everyone watching, I know that... you have so many facets. They're all brilliant. If you could impart some sort of exercise any of us could do to just kind of, churn those psychic, that engine, or, or
you mean
help
with the
us,
board or in general?
I think the veil is thinnest now, right?
It
so,
is.
and what can we do to help kind of...
That's a good question. Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that. We are approaching Samhain, which is All Hallows Eve, Halloween night, October 31st. It's actually the biggest Sabbath in paganism and within the craft. It's considered the witch's new year. So it is where the time of the year where pagans celebrate the end of the harvest, and they celebrate the fact that Gaia is dying. They celebrate the fact that death is anew, and with death brings life. With death brings new beginnings. So as the trees die and the leaves fall, and as crops die and our fruits and vegetables are being harvested and animals are being slaughtered. So all from an ancient perspective, understanding that what is happening right now seasonally and with Gaia, with Mother Earth, that as things are dying and as the trees are dying and leaves are falling, all of this extra energy is being emitted into the earth. And with the way the cosmos, with the way the earth is spinning right now, and with October 31st coming, that's why they say, and it is true, I think it is true, that's why they say that the veil between the living and the dead is the thinnest during that time. It's because of that convergence and all of the extra, quite literally, all of the extra death energy that's floating around, and it has to go somewhere. So it is, and I think that any time is an opportune time to commune with the spirit world, but October 31st is definitely the time to do it. So I would leave you guys with an understanding of that you all possess a beautifully powerful parapsychological capability. Some of you might be astral projectors, some of you might be telepathic, but regardless, you have an energy inside of yourself. And what little we do know, after all the work we've done, what little we do know about the afterlife or ghosts, we do know from a scientific perspective, it's been scientifically proven that energy cannot be destroyed. So it's been scientifically proven that energy alters and it transfers. So that means it's been scientifically proven and it's been scientifically documented, and this is something that the media stays away from. We know for a fact that when we die, we don't die. We know that we have an energy inside of us, and when our bodily vehicles are shed, that we don't die, that the rest of us go someplace else.
There is no end.
There is no end.
Cyclical,
yes, hence the big, consciousness, absolutely. Right. So I would say to embrace that and honor it, and find whatever method of spirit communication speaks the loudest to you, and try it out on Samhain.
I think it's safe to say that the lineage of all the brilliant guests we've had tonight, meditation.
Meditation. Absolutely.
Montana, thank you so much.
Thank you
You're
for
incredible.
having me. Thank you.
Tickets still available for Port Gamble?
Absolutely, yep.
So where can they go to get tickets for Port Gamble?
I think it's www.portgambleghostconference2017.com. And then a lot of announcements and a lot of fun stuff happening for the following few months. So.
And you're a big Twitter user, so people can find you?
Yes, thank you for saying that. Yeah, I would encourage people to follow me on Twitter at KMontanaJordan and keep up with me that way.
And that's the best way, because you're an unveiler. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not listed all the time because there's so much happening. So Twitter is the best way, I think, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Montana.
Thank you very much. Happy
Samhain. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, thank you to Montana Jordan. Please check her out. I mean, she is a witch about town. Doing all sorts of amazing stuff all the time, especially if you're in the Portland area. And even if you're not, she's got a wealth of knowledge. Seek her out and you will be sought. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope to continue reposting these amazing conversations I had at We the Hallowed's Wayward Worship Salons this past year. Guys, podcasts are hard. So it's taken me a while to figure this whole new curriculum out, but we do have a reformatted We the Hallowed site. You can visit pragmagick.com. If you go to wethehallowed.org/podcast/feed, you'll find our RSS. Please upload us to any podcast player if you don't see us. And thanks for listening to my shameless plug for Dakota Slim's new record, out May 25th. And please, investigate We the Hallowed. It's the little art collective that could and does and will, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. What started as a fever dream has now turned into this, brilliant circus of disparate individual artists connecting, supporting, pushing, and experimenting with the weird. Visit us at wethehallowed.org. This is the part where I tell you to go to our Patreon, patreon.com/wethehallowed, where you can sign up, subscribe for as little as $1 a month to get this podcast, future episodes before they're released publicly, Q&A sessions with guests, zines, compilations, and individual members' works of art, as well as their records. And please, by all means, investigate and support this collective. But more importantly, if you fancy yourself a serious student and pray-teller of the confluence between metaphysics and art, well then get at me. pragmagick@gmail.com. And hell, maybe you'll get on the podcast to spin your yarn, tell your trick, or publish an article at pragmagick.com. Or hell, we might just even become friends.